see the bike because it's underneath me.
Right, so here we are, and we are in the second part of the first day of the Dynamos Challenge. You can see our Dynamos just there on the left-hand side. And we are this is our second stage, so we are in the first part of our 550 kilometers ride ending up in Dublin. So, as we approach 30 kilometers into the ride, how are we all doing? Mr. Sim, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can. How is it going? How's today been?
It's been great so far. It's been nice that we've been on a Zoom call for most of the rides. So you still get the kind of chat which kind of gets you through it. And we had a great first stage. We're 30 into our second stage. We've got the elastic band support on at the moment. So basically our average speed means no one gets left off the end. It's coming off at 40k, and then we've got a bit of a 17 kilometer 10 mile race to the finish, which I think we're all fairly nervous about, but it'll be fun, maybe.
Yeah, I can imagine the nerves are starting to kind of get up, but that's what you need sometimes to get to the end of a day like today. We've done how far have we already today?
So we had 50 or so kilometers in the first one. So what we're on now, 30. We've some of us pushed on a little bit to try and gain a few extra kilometers to avoid getting up early on Monday. So we're all on about 80 to 90 kilometers so far. And with, what have we got? 30 left. So still a bit to go. And then obviously all day tomorrow and all day Sunday and most of Monday.
Brilliant. So yeah, this is our first of 4 days. We've got a lot of interesting and exciting things lined up over the next few days, including I think a mastermind session tomorrow, which I'm sure everyone has been preparing for. But today, as I said, it's a race. So as you can see on the screen, we're about 30 kilometers into the second part of the first day. But once we get to around 43 kilometers in, we're going to be doing a 70 kilometer race up to 50k, and that's going to be at one of the sprints on this Watopia virtual cycling circuit that you can see on the screen. So when we get to that point, we're gonna take the kind of the group function off. So we're gonna let some of the dynamos go off with a bit of a head start, and then the rest are going to have to chase, just like if anyone saw the training race last week. So this is what they've been preparing for. So as we're just about 80k in at the moment. Let's take a look at the at the equivalent distance on the Debden to Dublin ride. I'll just get that up. This is the school challenge leaderboard. You can see the all the form statements there, and 80 thing gets us to Princess Brisbane. So at the end of today, we should be well into Oxfordshire, approaching Oxford, and that's just to help you visualise where the Dynamos will be on the ride where they do this weekend. Obviously, because of the coronavirus, the lockdown, we've had to transfer this to a virtual ride. But this is very much what they've been going through at this point on the Debden to Dublin challenge. This is all, of course, to raise money for the Essex and Hertfordshire Air Ambulance Trust. And the donation page, which we can also get up to you. Any more donations are very much welcome.
Whew.
This is our fundraising page. As you can see, the Dynamos have actually raised just over £5,000. So that is
Yes.
Before even reaching Dublin. So it's absolutely brilliant cause. And then now we just get to watch them suffer for the next 3 days.
Oh, thanks, Max.
Absolutely, I'm glad. I think I'll be joining the Dynamos for some of the segments of the ride, but not today. I've been out on my bike in the sun, and now this is my recovery, watching you lot ride the next 18 kilometres to the finish. So when we approach the start of the race, we're just going to take a look at some Dynamo videos.
Despite being in a lockdown, we are still going to be completing our challenge, and we're going to be cycling from Debden to Dublin.
Let's take another look, starting with my father.
So despite being in a lockdown, we are still going to be completing our challenge, and we're going to be cycling from Debden to Dublin, or the equivalent distance, on our turbo trainers indoors, which I'm really excited about. My longest turbo ride is, I think, about 60k. I think it took me just over 2 hours, so I've got quite a long way to go. I don't think I'm anywhere near ready for it. I think the thing I'm most concerned about is getting bored, because I think this is much more of a mental challenge than anything else I've done, really. I think 4 days straight of staring at my living room wall is going to be challenging, but it is for a really, really important cause. It's for the Essex and Hart Air Ambulance, which is obviously incredibly important, I think now more than ever. So I'm excited to be doing it, a little bit apprehensive, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So that was Madame Fonda there, just talking about her kind of aspirations for the Dynamos challenge. You heard her say that one of the main fears, as for everyone who is riding on a turbo trainer, or anyone who's ever ridden on a turbo trainer, is getting bored. 1 hour riding your bike out on the road can feel like nothing, but on the turbo train it can feel like literally years. So these guys have been going for well over an hour already in this second half of the first day, and we are now at 84 kilometres in to the challenge, which was well over Anafonda's longest previous ride of 60 kilometres. So they're all doing fantastically well. And we're currently watching Mr. Davis as he just kind of pops off the front of this little group that we've all got kind of stuck together at the moment. And let's take a look at Ventura.
Hi, Seb Ventura here, Debden Dynamo. Yeah, it's going to be a very different kind of experience, this challenge. Having done lots of challenges such as Von 2, etc., which were challenging in terms of hills, all those kind of things that make the ride hard, and distance, this one's going to be probably the hardest one. Obviously, as you know, we can't actually go out on the roads, so we're having to do it in our houses or garages or wherever we've got our training turbos, basically a static bike, which is all good there's a lot of good reasons why that is a useful training tool, but it's not really designed to do long rides like this. So it is going to be difficult. The longest I've ever done on a turbo is probably only about 30 or 40 kilometers, because I tend to do a little bit every day rather than a long ride. So whereas when we do our outdoor rides that we've done the last 5 or 6 years, you know, we're out and about, we get the weather, we get to chat with each other, we have little coffee stops. This is going to be very, very difficult because on the turbo it doesn't actually stop. You don't get traffic lights or little pauses where you can catch your breath. You are constantly pedalling. So yeah, that's going to be hard, and probably it is going to make it the hardest ride we've ever done, I think. But we're doing it for a brilliant cause. The Essex and Herts Air Ambulance, who are absolutely amazing at the school, helping in the recent tragedy. So as all these places need money to keep giving out the service they do, the best thing we can do is help them raise that money. So people, please pledge, sponsor us, any of us, all of us, to get some money for them, and that will give us motivation in these long times. My garage isn't the most picturesque place to be. It's pretty boring, so I'm not looking forward to the repetitive nature of staying in my garage for 8 hours, although I may get refreshments and company from my family throughout the ride. So yeah, looking forward to it in a kind of dark way, because we'll raise some money and it'll be something to tick off that we've done in this kind of new world of lockdown, of everything being virtual and everything being done by screens. It'll be definitely something different, but as I say, quite hard. So yeah, sponsor us and wish us luck. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. So thank you, sir, for that. And that's another dynamo just saying how they find usually the turbo chain can be very boring. And that's why we've kind of got all these different over the next 3 days, just to kind of keep everyone entertained. There's a lot of different kind of techniques that people use, that cyclists use when they're on the turbo trainer. Sometimes it is just Zwift, kind of making you feel like you're riding on the road, can be the thing that gets you through it. But then there's also a lot of other things that people have tried, watching films, watching TV shows, anything really that will get you through it, even watching bike races, kind of going along with the changes in pace attacks that happen in them. So we heard from Mr. Ventura there just in this video. Sir, how are you finding it?
Oh, just 1 minute. Yeah, hi Max.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, sir. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. It's not been as bad as I thought, to be honest, but that's mainly because we've been entertained. We've got the Zoom, we've been chatting, and things like this really help just to keep your mind off it, you know?
Yeah, that's it. That is it, isn't it? I suppose one of the worst things, as well as kind of the normal boredom of just being on the tower trainer, is throughout the kind of coronavirus, you just miss like riding in groups, getting kind of that like social side, getting you through the rides. But this getting on Zoom, that must really help.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually quite realistic because you have little sections where no one talks for 5 minutes. And then there's, you know, a barrage of chats and stories, which is kind of like real life as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So right, we will just we'll leave to get on with the next part of the ride as we approach the race, and we will take a look at one of our newest dynamos, and that is.
Hello, Nick Denham here. This is my first Debden Dynamo charity fundraiser. The first time I've been involved, so I was very much looking forward to it, and cycling to Dublin. Hello, Nick Denham here. This is my first Debden Dynamo charity fundraiser. The first time I've been involved, so I was very much looking forward to it, and cycling to Dublin. Unfortunately, with the lockdown and everything else that's going on in the world at the moment, we can't go, but we are still going to complete the challenge. We're going to do it on our turbo trainers, and do it online through Zwift if you know what Zwift is, where it's a cycling app and you just use it as a trainer. And as I say, we're still going to complete all the same distances as we would have done if we're doing it in real life, but on your static turbo trainer. I'm going to be doing it in the garage pretty much, so it's not going to be as nice. Not really looking forward to it. It's going to be hard. The most I've ever ridden is 20 kilometers on my static trainer, and now we've got to do 550 in a few days. But as I say, it will be worth it for Essex and Herts Air Ambulance Service, a charity that is very dear to our hearts at Debden Park. Please keep donating. Thank you very much. Very much looking forward to it being over. I'm worried that it is going to be too much. They've obviously completed a lot of challenges, the Debden Dynamos, in the past, and ridden lots of miles and done lots of amazing things. So I'm pretty sure we can still do this. It's not going to look good if this is the first challenge that we don't complete, and the only one that I'm involved with. So fingers crossed. Thanks.
So that was Mrs. Denham there, and we've just got seen Sir appear on screen. So how are you finding this? We're now just over 88 kilometres into this ride. You said at the time that was 20 kilometres we did along this ride on the tower. How's it going today?
Sorry, Matt, I'm struggling to hear you. My connection's not great. I don't know if you can hear me.
Right, yeah, that's all right. Yeah, we can hear you, but yeah, that's all good. We're just watching Mr. Denham there on the screen, just riding along, and we just. So as we said earlier, we're kind of approaching. We're going to have this this kind of race just to finish off the finish off the first day of riding, and it's going to be, I think we said 50k earlier, the finish 60 kilometers. So we now have 38 kilometers in the right, just an hour and 20 minutes in, and so 43 kilometers we're going to start out off. You can see on the left side of the screen there, these with KOM leaderboard, and that is just, we've just our dynamos display. You can see at the top of that 6 minutes and 44 seconds. He's been flying out the car today. We're going to have a little just before the end of the race. I think we're going to have a little kind of KOM spread away. So if all the kind of gaps we're going to start at the start of the meeting, then we'll see who gets on top of those times.
Well, we seem to have just lost Max there, unfortunately. Just to explain what's going to happen, so at about 1 kilometre, we will start the race. Alice will get a 3-minute start, and then the second group of riders 3 minutes after that, and then the third group of riders will start 5 minutes behind Alice, and it'll be whoever can get to the finish first, which is around about 57, 58 kilometres. So it's going to look a bit weird in about 1 kilometre's time, because some of us will stop, Alice will go, and then the Red Arrows group will go 3 minutes later, and then finally the Joe Sim group will go behind that. And basically it's just a bit of an effort to try and keep the boredom away at the moment. It's been a long day so far. Hopefully Max will join us back in a minute, but in about 1 kilometre's time you should see the race about to start.
Right, we're back hopefully, and yeah, as Serge just said, the race, we're going to see this race, which hopefully is going to bring quite an exciting end to the first day of riding. So in just about 1 kilometre's time, we'll see those groups that Serge just described kind of form up, and it will be just like the race that we saw last weekend. So it'll be Man and Fonda trying to hold off the rest of the dynamos. They're not going to have as much help as last week. We saw all the other riders in that race kind of offering a kind of a lot of teammates. Really, they kind of work as teammates to. We saw the B group, the C group working together to try and catch up with the A's that had the biggest head start. So we've got Mr. Sim and I think Mr. Utley and possibly Mr. Davis in the fastest group at the back. I'm going to try and catch up to Man and Fonda at the front by the time that we reach that 57, 58 kilometre mark. At the moment, of course, we've still got that kind of group riding feature enabled. So when we're not seeing anyone riding off at the moment, but that's all going to change in the next kind of few minutes, and we're going to get a lot more watts being shown up on that side of that screen as everyone starts to really push on to the end of the first day. We've got, of course, the back of everyone's mind is going to be the next few days. We've got, of course, another 3 days of this Dynamos Challenge, and no one's going to want to go too hard, really. Last week we had the race that we did on last Thursday. That was kind of a max effort for everyone, but we've still got tomorrow. tomorrow we've still got a long way to go, and the day after that, and on Monday. So everyone's going to be trying to maybe save a little bit in the tank for those days. Yeah, so tomorrow, Saturday, we have before our live streams, the Dynamo's already going to have completed 50 kilometers. Those that want to get up bright and early in the morning, and then for stage 4, it's going to be our mastermind and family ride kind of stage. So we're going to be putting questions to the Dynamos as they're riding along, which should be very interesting indeed as they try and kind of put that effort out while kind of training their brains at the same time. And for stage 5, which is going to be around 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, it's going to be another 50 kilometers. So by that time, the Dynamos will have ridden 200 kilometers, 250 kilometers towards their end goal, or just over that, because we are doing a few extra kilometers as part of the race today.
When are we going?
So that's all going to be on another 100. So we're now watching Manifold. You can see all the rest of the riders riding on Zwift are now shown on the right-hand side of your screen, and that's kind of demonstrating that we've left that kind of group view, and we're now entering the race to the finish of this first day. See, as Manifold is just riding past here, you can see runners on the side of the road, which is a relatively new feature to Zwift. There's all kinds of people that use this program like day in, day out to try and, especially at the moment, you can see hundreds and hundreds of people that Manifold is flying past, actually kind of trying to make the most of this early advantage. Should be thinking about Mr. Sim, Mr. Ali. Not started their effort yet. But I'm going to be holding this sheet very soon. Coming in from Facebook. On Facebook, we've got Alex Hamlet Jones says, "Go, Alex! This is the point where all the boys come in for the Dynos as they reach the end of the first day. Not far now, Nick, we've also got as well. It's really kind of great work that these guys have done today. We've done nearly 110 kilometres by the end of today, and we're already 93 kilometres in. Watching Mr. Debden at the moment. Mr. Debden, Mr. Ventura, and Mr. Shepley all very close to each other at the moment and trying to chase down will be very soon. As we return to watching Man and Fonda, we've got just below me on the screen, you can see the 3 dynamos that will begin chasing her down shortly. Let's get Man and Fonda up there as well, just so you can see the effort that is put in to try and hold these guys off. And you can just see the effort in these guys. They're in their pain caves at the moment. Man and Fonda just kind of rising out of the saddle briefly to try and get that effort out. Sometimes changing your position on the bike, maybe moving kind of slightly forward on the saddle, just works different muscle groups. And so then the muscle groups that you've been working before get a little rest, and you can just get that last bit of energy out at the end of this really long day of riding that these guys have done already. As we're just watching Mr. Ventura right now, hopefully Mr. Ventura all kind of technically sorted out after a few issues with the kind of power setup that you need for Zwift. Zwift, of course, running on. You can see the numbers shown in the top left-hand side of the screen. That is the amount of power in watts that these guys are putting out with their legs. Any kind of glitches in the power setup that they can really have a large effect on Zwift. And obviously everyone who's using this across the world inputs their own weight, and it's your watts per kilogram that determine how fast you move in the real world. And so on Zwift it's no different. And so especially when you're competing in these big races like these guys did last week, you just kind of got to trust that everyone is putting in the right weight. Definitely some dodgy numbers being thrown up before, but these guys all, of course, riding as they would be out on the road. And you can see Man and Fonda just squeezing every last bit of energy out as she has just to go till the end of the day. As we return to watching Man and Fonda, just riding over these virtual cobblestones, hopefully not feeling the effects of that as these guys would have done when they rode from Debden to Flanders to on the weekend of the famous Tour of Flanders pro cycling race, and then riding the whole route of that the day after as well, taking in the famous cobble climbs of that region of Belgium. Absolutely, you can see the jersey that Mr. Shepley's wearing at the moment there with the Belgian colours of the red, the yellow, and the black. Nice away from Mr. Shepley there as he continues to get the last bit of it out. But yeah, that was particularly one of the particularly impressive challenges, the many impressive challenges that these guys have done over the years. Hopefully these that, of course, was a challenge done over far fewer days than these guys are going to take on this this weekend, and they had the sometimes kind of grim, oppressive and windy scenery of Belgium to deal with throughout that ride. But it's their garages and balconies in Man and Fonda's case at the moment that they're having to deal with, and that in some ways is much worse. as we return to watching Mr. Denham there, riding on his own at the moment, but he has, it seems like, overtaken Man and Fonda on the road. Mr. Ventura also a few, maybe 30 seconds behind at the moment. He's really pushing on Mr. Denham, 46.7 kilometres in. That means that he has just over 10 kilometres until the end of the race. Riding at 145 beats per minute heart rate. It can be, especially at the end of a really long day like this, it can be tough to kind of get going when you throw in an effort like this at the end of a long ride. Just getting that heart rate up to the kind of levels that it would do otherwise, if you were just doing a normal 1 hour turbo session, can be a real struggle. So these guys are all going to be really feeling it in their legs, as you can see on the side of the screen there. You can see Mr. Shepley there, in contrast, 171 beats per minute. He's really digging deep at the moment, 47.6 kilometres in. You can see Heat 2 has just overtaken Man of Fonda, just a matter of 3 or 4 seconds in front at the moment. Man of Fonda is going to see that and take that as motivation to just really push on as they go over this this little bridge over the virtual river. You can just see there. So yeah, we have Mr. Shepley in front of him, just by about 30 seconds, Mr. Denham, and about 10 seconds in front of Mr. Ventura. They're all really close together, as they were last week, these dynamos, as we return to watching the scratch, the back group, where we have Mr. Davies, Mr. Sim, and Mr. Utley. You can see these guys, Mr. Davies and Mr. Sim, are now really working together as a group. That's going to be really beneficial as they try and make up that time towards the riders in front. They're just riding along this gravel road at the moment, 48 kilometres in. That's Mr. Davies you're watching there, and with him Mr. Sim. So these guys are just trying to bridge over to the riders in front. They're not too far behind, but the distance remaining is increasing all the time. You can see Mr. Denham there, about just over 1 kilometre in front, going.
Oh my God.
And as Manafonda's just feeling the pain of this effort, with just over not much longer than 5k to go, and the Wi-Fi started working again. We're just watching Mr. Debden there, 51.7 kilometers into the race, and it's Mr. Shepley and Mr. Ventura that are working together to try and catch him up. Neither of them are very far behind at all. But we just need to wait and see what's happened to this scratch group of the B riders that are going to be catching up to these guys, possibly before the end of the race, or possibly it might be that this route is going to run out. You can see on the screen on the left, you can see Mr. Utley overtaking Mr. Denham on that Switch King of the Mountain. And Mr. Shepley just dealing with another common issue on the cardo. But surely it's going to be giving him that extra motivation just to get to the finish. So as we watch Mr. Shepley and Mr. Ventura still riding really well together. 52.1 kilometres into the race. Mana Sandland Jones says, "You've got this, Alice." Manafonda just really pushing on, getting to the end. Still hopefully holding off that group of Mr. Davis, Mr. Utley and Mr. Sim. Let's take a look at those guys. So you see, I'm fond of 15 kilometers into the race. Still going strong as hopefully going to get these guys on. As we're watching Mr. Denham still with Finley in the lead of this race, 52.8 kilometres. Not far to go at all from Mr. Denham at the moment. And you can just see that the group containing Mr. Davis has flown past Manafonda on the road. So this group that we've got on our screens at the moment, really motoring along, really trying to catch up to Mr. Denham, who still seems to be in the lead of this race. So now it's down to them. It's down to these three that you can see on our screen. All Mr. Davis sporting that 1-2 jersey, and Mr. Utley, the winner of last weekend's race, doing the absolute most to try and catch up to those guys that are still in front. It's going to be really close, I think, because Mr. Denham is making good progress. He's eating up the road in front of him. You can see there, 53.5 kilometres to go, 36 kilometres an hour going up, speeding down this road right now. This is after he's more than 100 kilometres into the Debden to Dublin challenge, but he's still absolutely motoring along, motivated by the fact that you can see these three guys on his screen just chasing him down, doing their absolute max effort just to get everything out of the legs. Forget about the next day tomorrow and just put everything on the road trying to catch Mr. Denham. can see Mr. Denham flying past the other riders that are currently riding on Zwift, innocently riding along, not knowing that the Debden Dynamos Challenge is taking place. We'll run 352 watts, speeding up these climbs at the moment. As we switch back to Mr. Shepley is 53.7 kilometres in, so he's just over 400 metres behind Mr. Denham on the road. But that kind of gap when both of these riders are on their own is going to seem insurmountable, especially after 104 kilometres, especially after riding on the turbo all day, where the absolute limit that most people would most sane people would ride at for on the turbo is just over an hour. You can see Mr. Ventura just 30 seconds behind, so Mr. Shepley's actually managed to distance himself and Mr. Ventura as we get towards the end. Mr. Shepley on the downhill, maybe trying to take a little rest just before we get right to the end of the race. We're going to try and kind of use these downhills as rest, use these just kind of let-ups in the terrain to kind of build up that last effort that he's really going to need to try and, if he can, catch up to Mr. Denham and at least hold off Mr. Ventura and the rest of these three guys that are working together trying to catch up. Misses him trying to balance riding, putting up this max effort on the turbo at the moment with holding his phone as well. All of these guys trying to. This is what happens when you're riding in your house. You're not kind of on the road. You've got to deal with everything going on around you as well as riding your bike, and that's going to be the case for all of this weekend. And that's why it really is. There's nothing to be to kind of sniff at this kind of virtual challenge, even though it's not really happening on the road. In a lot of ways, it's much more difficult, much more mentally challenging, certainly, as you can see, Mr. Sims on his own at the moment. So he's just under a minute behind him on the road, and Mr. Sim really pushing on. 4 kilometres into the race. You can see Mr. Ventura just at the top of that Zwift that's nearby kind of leaderboard. He's just under a minute behind Mr. Ventura at the moment. Large gap to be try and kind of close down in the last few kilometres of this race, but that's surely only going to motivate him further. As we see Mr. Denham 56.4 kilometres in. He's still maintaining that advantage, still kind of riding steady, not pushing on too hard, because the thing you really don't want to do at the end of this ride, especially with over 100 kilometres in the legs, the chance of kind of just blowing up and losing all of the advantage that you built up over the last half an hour, which you really don't want to do. The chances of blowing like that after a longer ride are very kind of much higher than they would be in a normal race like we were doing last weekend. He takes in this downhill, rounding this bend, right, you can see on the map. As we see Mr. Ventura just riding along. You can see Mr. Shepley just under 30 seconds in front of him, but he looks set kind of on course to hold off the faster riders at the set off, giving those other riders that advantage. I've seen Mr. Denham flying through this town here, 57.2 kilometres gone. Mr. Denham flying down this hill, approaching this bend, coming up to the Utopia Sprint. And it looks like that for Mr. Denham is the finish of the day's riding the race, and you can see that 1,000 watts on the screen. Absolutely incredible numbers for somebody just taking up cycling. And yeah, that is it. So he's finished his effort and he's managed to hold off the rest of the charging dynamos that you can see on the screen. 58 kilometres in, he just completed 108 kilometres, and he finished off with that incredible sprint. As we watch Mr. Shepley, 57.4 kilometres to go, 57.4 kilometres time impact, or rather 107.5. It looks like he's going to be the next rider to come in to the finish just in front of Mr. Ventura. He's going to hopefully try and emulate what we've just seen from Mr. Shepley, that kind of powerful sprint to end up at the end of the day. Might come to regret that come tomorrow, but it's great to see all of these dinos putting everything that they've got out onto the finish of today. You can see Mr. Debden just sitting up, just taking in the recovery as Mr. Shepley rides over the bridge, just getting to the finish. 58 kilometres done for him as well, and over the line. Cracking effort. As we're watching Mr. Sim now, Mr. Sim as well, just with less than 1 kilometre to go before the end of this race. Mr. Sim about 30 seconds in front of Mr. Davies, and he'll be able to see Mr. Denham and Mr. Shepley on his screen, nicely recovered after finishing their efforts for the day. So we'll put Mr. Sim back on the screen, just the approaches to the bridge that we've seen these other two dynamos taking already. Mr. Ventura hopefully finished as well. As we watch Mr. Davies. Mr. Davies, 400 metres to go before the finish of the day's riding. So these guys have effectively now completed their first day of the Debden to Dublin Challenge. If this was real life, they'd be just riding through Oxfordshire at the moment, but the fact that we're able to do this on the turbo and kind of do it in a virtual way means that we can make the ride so much more interesting. We wouldn't be able to kind of follow them along if they were riding on the road, of course. And we've put in a lot of these kind of quiz and this race that you're seeing right now just to kind of make it really more exciting and kind of relieve the boredom that sometimes these guys have all spoken about in their videos as well. As Mr. Davies, you can see, just coming over the line as well. So we return Manafonda just dropping through the town that we've seen these other guys come through. Just under a kilometre to go now, and that'll be all of our dynamos finished for the day. Yeah, you're seeing these guys. You can see Manafonda just riding towards the end of the race. Mr. Davies still very much riding along. All of this distance that these guys have been in, the extra few kilometres at the end of the day's riding are going to count towards the final total. So while they're on the bike, they might as well just get another few kilometres in, and then the next few days will be significantly easier. That's what it's going to be about for the next few days as well. Kind of early starts, staying on the bike all day, trying to get the maximum amount of rest in between these sessions, and then hopefully by the time we get to the end of Monday, all of these guys will easily completed the 550 kilometres that will take them virtually from Debden to Dublin. As you see, Manafonda just crossing the line there, and that means that all of our dynamos have now completed the race. And Manafonda as well, not choosing to stop, choosing to keep riding along. We'll get as we say, absolutely really want to pay for that. How much take out your next. What is next?
You can see the bike because it's underneath me.